The other place we went to was Value Village. And yeah, so haven't been to a Value Village or thrift stores lately, but we went this time. And again, much like the last time I streamed, I was talking about how I never really expect to find Warhammer stuff at a flea market, you know? Star Wars toys, superhero toys, comic books, sure. DVDs, video games at a flea market, I guarantee it. But Warhammer stuff or miniatures, it's a popular hobby, especially in Europe, but it's not as popular in North America. It's still fairly popular, to be honest, but yeah, it's just not something that I ever expect to find at a flea market, and as well, I never really expect to find it at a Value Village. And yet, I found this. 2 bags filled with miniatures, guys. And this is what we're gonna go through, and this might be the rest of the stream. I did open it up, and I looked through it kind of quickly, but not a super quick look. And I'll tell you right now, there's Warhammer stuff that's Oldhammer. It's stuff from like the 80s, so it's almost as old as I am. Some stuff probably even older, and some of the stuff is newer from like not Warhammer, and some of it looks really interesting. I'm not even entirely sure 100% where these models come from, what game system they're from, but we can get into that. So let's take a look. Some of these models are painted, but let's take a look. We're gonna go through these, and yeah, that might be the end of the stream. Just a little quick one today, guys. Let's take a look. Look at that. That is a lot of miniatures. This was only $7 for all of this. Some of it is metal, and some of it is plastic or resin, perhaps, or some combination. But this is, I'll say this much, this is the thing that kind of attracted me to these when I saw them in the store. These models here. Let's focus. Focus, enhance. See that? That, my friends, is a Chaos Dwarf. And Chaos Dwarves in the Warhammer setting have kind of come and gone. Like they're never really like the main, they're never really an army that you can build around, at least not lately. Within the last couple of years, they haven't really made it so that you could make a full army of them. But these models are like from the 80s, and the design is effectively like small Chaos Warriors, right? And somewhere around the 90s, they kind of changed the design of the Chaos Dwarves so that they had kind of like a Mesopotamian look, I think, a Babylonian look maybe, based around the sculptures that archaeologists have found. They gave them like very funny decorative beards, kind of. But these are classic ones, and they're like someone painted these already, and I think the paint job is actually half decent. Like that's why I don't really feel like stripping them right now. I'll just leave them as is, and maybe I'll paint them another day. But they kind of have this Guy Fieri flame thing going on, which I kind of love. Guy Fieri, Dwarf Fieri, and so yeah, look at all these. So many Chaos Dwarfs. Flavortown, the dwarf, the warlord of Flavortown. Maybe I'll make a Chaos Dwarf army based around Guy Fieri. The Flavortownian, the Flavortown warriors. Look at that. This guy looks like he likes paprika. These guys look like they like spice. Habanero. The Butchalokia, ghost pepper. Maybe that's what's gonna happen, guys. We're gonna make a Chaos Dwarf Flavortown army. But we'll just kind of look at them real quickly. Uh-oh, you guys hear that? It's Thomas. It's Thomas the Hype Train. Let's close it for now. There's a hype train for the Chaos Dwarfs. So we'll take a quick look at them, and then we'll sort of line up exactly how much we've found. And then we'll look at the other models. And yeah, I'm just so in love with these models. They are so cool. And yeah, they're possibly metal or like pewter, or they're possibly lead. I'm actually not sure, but if they've already have a layer of paint on them, so it should be okay to handle to some extent. This is a Chaos Dwarf with one eye, so he's like, not only is he a dwarf, he's an evil Chaos Dwarf, and he's a Cyclops. So he's got a lot going on in his life. He has a lot of he's got a lot of issues. This guy looks like he likes cilantro. And yep, here's another cilantro lover, another mono-eyed dwarf. And I'm thinking that this shield is from a plastic kit, from a more recent plastic kit, because the previous owner wasn't able to source the original circular chaos shields, but they look really nice nevertheless. And look at that, we're already up to 7 Chaos Dwarves, guys. Ooh, this guy looks like the boss. Look at this guy, because he's just standing like neutral. I like this one. This guy has a real authoritative pose. But yeah, I think if I were to strip these guys and paint them, I think that we could do a bit better of a job, but I don't think that these are awful. And it's something about like out of respect of the previous owner, that I kind of want to honor the paint job. So if I end up painting these, I'll take a picture of all of them so that we can kind of remember how they looked previously. But if I end up painting them, I might maintain the same kind of paint job. Cephalopod Studios, how's it going, Cephalopod Studios? How's it going? What are you up to these days? Thanks for the follow. Yeah, out of respect, I'll probably maintain the paint job, or rather the color scheme. This guy's kind of like, look at this guy. Cephalopod, Chaos Dwarves always deserve follows. Yeah, so I found this bag of Chaos Dwarves and a bunch of other stuff at a thrift store today. It was, I almost never find, once in a blue moon, find miniatures at stores like that. But today was a good day when we found some. This guy's like, are you not entertained? I don't think we found that. I don't think we've seen that sculpt before. And I think that, oh, so now we have a couple of other dwarf models that are loose, like this guy here. Can you guys see that? It's kind of a little hard to see. But it's a dwarf with an axe in his head. I love it. Isn't that great? This is the Warhammer that I used to looked at in catalogs as a kid, I used to stare at the catalogs. Oh, Night Trap killed a bot. I appreciate that, Night Trap. Cephalopod, that's a crazy haul. I've never even thought about thrift stores and minis before. Yeah, so I used to go to the thrift store like a whole lot more frequently, like a couple times a week, and sometimes once in a blue moon I saw some Warhammer stuff, but most of the time it would be like really basic stuff that I might not even want to get, and then in a smaller fraction of that I might find something really special. But this is easily the biggest Warhammer find that I've found at a thrift store ever before, so I'm pretty hyped about that. If you have one close by, and if you live in like kind of like a populated area, there's a chance, and if not Warhammer, then something else. You might find some other kind of hobby that you're into, if it's like movies or comics, if you kind of cast a broad net, you know, if you're into games and whatever, or clothing, you might find something there too. But yeah, so let's try and find the other Warhammer related stuff, and then we can look at the other things. This is a goblin on a wolf. A goblin on a wolf. And this wolf here has armor on his head. And I haven't seen that before. I know that there's like a basic bear wolf head. And this is an old goblin archer model. I definitely have a few of these. These models are definitely from like the late 80s to 90s, something like that. And I'm just gonna pick through the Warhammer stuff and pick through all of that first. There's a Gobbo, just your basic plastic goblin. This is from 4th edition, if I'm not mistaken. This is a 4th edition goblin. Plastic. Let's see. And I think the rest of the models are non-Warhammer. This could be Warhammer. This could be a what do they call it? Maybe even a Marauder miniature. I'm going to be taking some pictures of these guys and posting it on Instagram, and hopefully I can get some Oldhammer heads to help me identify them. Cephalopod Skull Pass, maybe? I'm sadly not that familiar with GW stuff. I think it predates Skull Pass. I am somewhat familiar with that. That's something like 7th, maybe anywhere from 6th to 7th edition Warhammer, and we're up to like, if you were to count the modern Warhammer Fantasy as Age of Sigmar, we're kind of like in 11th or 12th edition. Fanner D Gynoid, hello. So yeah, this is another Oldhammer model. And yeah, I think this is a Marauder miniature, I'm not sure. But that's pretty nice. Let's get it to focus there. I'll put that there. And now, oh, here's another metal goblin head. Unpainted. Toss some follows on your Insta. Thanks, Cephalopod. Cool. Yeah, I'm going to definitely follow you as well once I get the chance. So now, I think the rest of these miniatures are not Warhammer. I think that they're from another game called Malifaux. And Malifaux, I'm not really all that familiar with it. It seems to me like it's a game that's more skirmish scaled, right? Rather than Warhammer, where it's like a big, huge army. And so let's take a quick look at these guys. This is a weird one. It's so small, but it's kind of like a ghost. Very unusual. A gynoid is like Data's daughter. Okay, roger that. Some of these are so small that it's kind of hard to even understand the details from them. Very weird. And yeah, I'm gonna have to do a bit of research as to where these models are from, but my guess is that they are from the game Malifaux, but I'm not 100% sure. This is a weird thing with wings. Let's see. Another tiny one. It's kind of hard to really see the details of the tiny ones. And let's see, while we're looking at small things, there's a number of these models that are like little pigs. Try and focus on that. And the base, whoever did the basing added like resin to the top to make it look like a reflective water. That's kind of cool. Good job on that. But yeah, there's these there's these little pigs on like wooden planks, and these guys are so tiny. I think that they're metal. I'm pretty sure that they're metal, but they're kind of cool for these tiny little pigs. And then there's a pig with a weird goblin thing, and the goblin creature has a big floppy hat. That's pretty cool. It is not Warhammer. Cephalopod. They look like Malifaux minis. Never painted anything from that game, but you always wanted to. Yeah, so I have only ever really seen pictures of the models. I don't think I've ever even seen a store carry them. But they have a lot of personality and character, which is pretty neat. So yeah, this is all gonna have to be some research that I do. Here's another weird goblin dude. I don't think that they're called goblins. I think maybe they're called like Grimkin or something like that. But yeah, they have a lot of personality, really funny looking. Here's another one. And again, I don't think that these paint jobs are awful, to be honest. So I'm not really in a rush to strip them. I'll just leave them like that. And whenever I get around to it, we can, I'll strip them down. What game are these from? These ones are from a game called Malifaux. That's our guess. That's our current guess, because I'm actually not 100% sure. Cephalopod, I supplied prize support for Malifaux tournaments at LVO. That's about as close to them as I've come, though. Oh, okay. So you are quite involved in the hobby. Do you own a store, perhaps, or something along those lines? That's really cool. And LVO, like, so did you go to this year's LVO? I'm actually not sure if it happened. It did happen, didn't it? I'm actually not sure. But LVO is like a huge deal, isn't it? It's like a big tournament. It's kind of like, I liken it to EVO in the fighting game community. It's kind of like EVO, where just all these fighting game platforms converge on Vegas, and all these players come and play to determine who's the best. And it's kind of like the same, but for like little toys. Paint manufacturer and hobby supplies and miniatures. Oh, so you make your own paint. That's really interesting. That's really cool. What is the brand of paint that you make? So here's another pig, and he's kind of like sitting on the floor and with a bunch of bombs on his back or something. I have no idea, but it's interesting. I actually really like the character of these models. They're very interesting. Cephalopod, Cuttlefish Colors is our paint line, but I'm just a fellow who paints little toys. Yeah, as am I. I'm just a dude that paints models, and I also build models. We're all just dudes who paint little toys. Now we're kind of getting into some models that, again, I'm not really sure where they're from. If they're Malifaux as well. This is like some kind of dog, zombie dog. But interestingly enough, it's not on the same kind of base, as you can see. It's on a GW base. So I don't know. Maybe this person bought these models for like Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not sure. But here you can see another zombie dog. It looks very Resident Evil kind of, with all the blood and the muscle coming through. Kind of cool. And yeah, like damn, that's a half decent paint job, you know? Cuttlefish Colors. Let me look that up. That's really cool. To be honest, I've been kind of branching out from the Citadel paint line. I think for many years I pretty much stuck with Citadel paint. But as of late, I've been trying to try out some different paints, like Vallejo, like Army Painter, and they're all fine. Like, you know, it's all good, baby. All right. Here we have, this is actually kind of interesting. This is a Rackham model. And Cephalopod, you're probably familiar with Rackham and Confrontation. This is from that old game called Confrontation. And I remember when those models came out, like in the mid 2000s, and it was kind of like a little mind-blowing, the quality of the paint jobs for the product shots for these models, where they were like doing non-metallic metal paint jobs and stuff for Confrontation, and the models look so like over the top and exaggerated. And now I feel like Warhammer's kind of like leaned into that a bit more as well, has kind of like gotten, I guess they've always had like over exaggerated proportions and stuff, but yeah, this is pretty interesting. A Rackham model. I think that lately these models, the molds, or the casting molds for these models had been acquired by another company, and then they recasted them. Confrontation minis were some of the best looking minis around. Yep. Hell yeah. Cephalopod. We're all just tools for the toolbox. And that is a mid-Nord dwarf. Tools for the tool god. This looks to be some kind of zombie or something that's mining, and he has like a glowing, the painter here has attempted to do some kind of like a, what do they call it? Object source lighting. And so the glowing green of the light has kind of been casting on the torso of this model. I've tried to do a bit of that as well. I've tried to learn how to do a bit of object source lighting, but I'm not too good at it. I still need to practice for sure. And here's another guy, some kind of zombie dude with a shovel. And it looks like there's a weird spirit thing on its hand. Interesting. I say zombie because they kind of have that zombie leg thing going on, you know? Or their knees are kind of like pointing at each other. Another zombie dog. We don't need to look at that. Some zombie dude with like a big hammer. And I really don't know what this is. This could be from something entirely different. The base is weird because it's flat. It almost seems like the person, kind of like the previous owner, may have made a mold of these kinds of bases and casted them themselves. And here's the last model from this bag, because there's a second bag, guys. This one looks pretty neat. And I don't know if we can kind of focus in on it really well. But she has kind of like two katanas on her back. And she's in like a kneeling position. This model is plastic. That was one bag, Night Trap, yep. We got more to go through. So that one's pretty neat. So here, let's push these models off to the side, and then we can get on to bag number 2. So the main thing that drew me to this was all of the Chaos Dwarfs, but everything else was really cool too. And it was kind of like a bonus in a sense. I'm gonna learn more. I'm gonna try and learn more about this game, Malifaux, because I really don't know much about it, but it's piqued my interest, and since I have the models, I might as well, yeah, just try and learn a bit more about it, see what the deal is. So that was one bag, and I have to say that for one bag, that was a pretty good find. Here's a bunch of stuff here. Bought a sealed lot? No. This was just something that I found at the flea market. No, at a thrift store. I mean, I guess you could say it was a sealed lot. Okay. Number 2. Bag number 2. So I did open this, and I looked at it just really quickly, but I didn't take a super close look at all of it, so that's what we're doing now. And I do recall that this second bag didn't have as much Warhammer stuff, and it was more Malifaux, and possibly other things. I'm not really sure. But let's get through this. There's a bunch of bases here with these like bamboo shoots sticking out. Bamboo plants. And there's a couple of them like that, like this again. And maybe the model got loose. And I don't know if you guys can see, but it seems like they tried to do kind of like a Japanese rock garden thing with the basing, which I think is a pretty cool idea. See how there's kind of like streaks of sand? That's pretty neat, actually. But yeah, there's these bases, they're all loose. Here's the big one. This was the biggest model in this bag, and it's metal. It's quite hefty, actually. It's quite hefty. And again, I think this is Malifaux. It's another pig. However, this pig is ginormous. And there's a little guy riding on top, holding on for dear life. And again, you can see the base. They've done this sort of glossy resin, perhaps it's resin, to create this sense of depth that it looks like it's toxic water, and then the characters are running on planks of wood. This wood might be balsa wood, perhaps. But yeah, pretty neat. Big boy. That's a big boy. And let's just keep going, guys. And when we're done, we might wrap things up. A little short stream today. Just wanted to document this. So here it says weird. Is that the manufacturer of Malifaux? Weird. This guy has a gun, and his sword is crossed, like his very Devil May Cry, maybe. Very stylish. I feel like the Malifaux line has a bit more of a horror theme to it. Like, it's kind of like freaky and weird compared to Warhammer, which is like more fantasy. This guy here, it's like a Friar Tuck looking character with a buzzsaw. Enhance, focus. But yeah, like I said, I'll probably take some pictures of these guys individually, throw them up later. And I'm trying to group them in what I feel like is sort of the in sort of their related what's the word I'm looking for? Factions? Trying to group them in what seems to be their factions. So these like bald dudes, maybe they're vampires with swords, I don't know. And these are like gravekeeper guys. And some models are plastic and some are metal. This one is metal. And it's like this guy has the shovel is bent, so I'm gonna have to bend it. And yeah, he's got like a bunch of limbs hanging out the bag. Gross. What do we got? What do we got? This seems to be some kind of doctor. And I'm very curious about the base. It seems like there's some red on the base. Like, were the models painted red first and then they were sprayed over again? Yeah, this seems to be some kind of surgeon. Sorry if it's blurry, I have to hold it still for a second so that it can focus. Let's see. This zombie fellow is emerging from the ground. Interesting. Interesting. And let's see, what else we got here? I'm trying to find ones that belong to the same kind of theme. Here, this one is really neat. This actually kind of reminds me of Bloodborne, kind of. Like, really thin, skinny guy with a big top hat. Has kind of like a Victorian look to it. This figure here also has one prosthetic leg, also reminiscent of Bloodborne. No spoilers. But this guy could be maybe the leader from this group. I don't know. And here's a nurse. Hello, nurse. There was actually a third bag with more models in it, but I kind of just stuck to these two because I felt like that was plenty. That was more than enough. Here's more of the goblin fellows. Cantuan, holy fuck. This is surprising to me that you are streaming at this time. Yeah, I decided to do something today. I went out and I was like, I bought all these miniatures and I figured I might as well document this right now. Oh, I just explained it, so there you go. And here we have a bunch of goblins, Warhammer goblins, again. And these guys, some of them are from what I believe to be 4th edition. And some of them are more recent. Skull Pass, that was mentioned previously by Cephalopod. But yeah, this one here, I'm pretty sure is from Skull Pass. And I think they're also the most current models as well for your standard goblin archers. I think that they're still the current ones in the range today, I think. So yeah, let's just put these chaps here. But yeah, Kentuan, I was just saying how I picked up some stuff and I was like, well, let's just stream what I found, you know? Just a quick one today. More of these guys. You know, to be honest, I do have a time that I normally stream, but it's not set in stone. I kind of just stream whenever I can and whenever I feel like it, so I might stream at this time again. Possibly, maybe. Here's another fat pig. And yeah, I really like what the previous owner had done with the base. I've mentioned that before, but I think it's really neat. So when it comes to these pig riding little goblin guys, so far I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. And these could be like some kind of weird doll faction. Kentuan, no worries, just checking up on you to say hi. Well, thanks for checking up on me, Kentuan. I appreciate it. Bacon, you said that was resin, right? To recreate the watery effect? Yeah, I think that this is resin. You can actually buy UV curing resin now. You could probably even pick it up at like Canadian Tire. Actually, no, I'm 100% sure that I've seen UV curing resin at Canadian Tire. It comes in a pen, actually. If you imagine, let's not hold a knife. If you imagine this to be a pen, inside the reservoir is resin, and it comes out the spout. And on the opposite end is a light, like a UV light, and you just shine it on, and then it cures with the light. And yeah, I've seen that at Canadian Tire. I'm pretty sure you can find it other places. But there's a project that I have in mind, actually. I was thinking about it yesterday. I can talk about it more another time, where I might have to pick up some resin, so that might be pretty cool. Fascinating. Cantuan, nothing much. Just having a hard day at work. Uh-oh. Oh, you came in late? Okay, so, oh boy. Here's all these dogs. There's even more dogs. More of these zombie Resident Evil dogs. Way more. We've seen enough of them, so I don't need to get a close-up of them. Here's another pig. These are probably the best models that I've found in this lot. This bunch. This is another pig with bombs and dynamite strapped to him. So add him to the pile. More bases with bamboo, but no figures on them. Here's a hobgoblin. This time it's a hobgoblin on a wolf. And yeah, I used to stare at the Citadel catalogs for such a long time. So I'm pretty familiar. I can kind of identify certain miniatures, at least from Citadel, pretty easily. But yeah, that's a hobgoblin as opposed to a normal goblin. Here's an example of a normal goblin. Hobgoblins tend to be a bit taller. Fascinating difference. More goblins, more standard goblins, both 4th edition and more recent goblins. Like, I mean, look at all this stuff. And can you believe there was another bag of miniatures? So many. Here's a loose wolf rider. There's another goblin that's going to go on top of a wolf. Zombie dogs. This guy's kind of interesting. It's some kind of criminal, and he's got 2 guns, and his chains are loose. And yeah, I think that the paint job on this is pretty nice. They've got they did the stripes, you know. Kentuan, is this all Warhammer stuff? It is not. Some of it is, and some of it is not. I am fairly familiar with the Warhammer stuff, so I can kind of identify what's Warhammer, but some stuff is not, and I'm not 100% sure what the other stuff is in terms of like the names of the models. All of this stuff, again, I found at a thrift store. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that they come from a game called Malifaux, a different game that's from a different company than Warhammer. So here, I'll talk about this. This model here was the one that was like, because I looked at all these models and I was like, I don't know if I really want to buy all this, just because it's like some of it is painted, and if it's painted, then if I want to paint it, then I'll have to strip it. And then the other stuff isn't Warhammer, so I'm not sure if I want to get into all of that. But I saw this, and this is the one that I was like, okay, let's go for it. Let's just pick this stuff up. And this is, it says here, it's really hard to see, but it says GW 1986. So 1986. This is older than Kentuan. I'm pretty sure this is a lot older than Kentuan. This little metal guy, and he's shining so brightly. Still got the luster. And that's a Chaos Dwarf. And I think we have an example of a painted version of it here, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, no. I mean, here's some painted ones. These are also Chaos Dwarves as well. And probably older than Mojo. Ay, ay, ay. Wow. Kentuan, you only know Warhammer and D&D. Yeah, those are like the most popular kind of brands, I guess, when it comes to miniatures. Like, it's D&D is a big one, and in fact, the store that we went to, the hobby store, SBT Toys, they had a lot of D&D miniatures, and they looked really cool. I've bought some D&D miniatures in the past, actually fairly recently, And yeah, they had even more, and stuff that I've never seen before, including a Beholder model kit. And it was an actual model kit that you put together, much like other Warhammer stuff. A lot of D&D miniatures are sort of pre-built and pre-primed, so that they're kind of casual friendly. It's really easy for people to just pick them up and just go straight to painting them. And in fact, D&D models, they sell models that are already pre-painted, so that you don't have to fuss around with that as well. But recently, WizKids and Dungeons and Dragons have branched out, or Wizards of the Coast actually, they've branched out into making models that are more like Warhammer. So yeah, there's a Warhammer quality Beholder miniature, and I was kind of tempted to get it, but I was like, I'll hold off. Kentuan, you're 1999. I've always wanted to get into D&D. You should give it a shot. Why not? I have D&D. I've never played it myself, but yeah, like, it's one of those things where it's different. It's so close to my other hobbies, but it's different enough that I don't really know much about it. But actually, at that store that we were at today, SBT Comics, they have this area where people can play Magic the Gathering as well as Warhammer and D&D, or just build models. And there was like a couple of teenagers playing D&D, and it actually looked really fun. Let's take a moment to talk about this real quick. So when I think about D&D, let's get a drink of water actually. Well, let's finish up looking at these miniatures, and then I'll talk about D&D a little bit, and then we'll wrap things up. So there's the criminal guy. Here's all these weird, colorful ones that I really don't know much about. There's like 4 of these. And here's a base. Here's a large base, and it has the Guy Fieri. It has the Guy Fieri flames, but there's no monster. I feel like this may have had a Lamassu on it at one point in time, or what would they call it? Like a Great Taurus from the Chaos Dwarf line. I have no idea what this used to be, but I'm a little sad that there's no accompanying miniature that was on here. I don't know. But yeah, that. Oh, and here's the last one. This looks kind of interesting. This might be of some interest to Bacon. It's a little anime waifu looking model. She's got a katana, she's got the thigh-high stockings, she's got ponytails, she's got a backpack, and maybe she went on this. Maybe she went on this, kind of like that, with the little bamboo shoots. Maybe that was the deal there. Uh-oh. Wow. And yeah, so this is a model. It's plastic, so if I wanted to strip it, I have to be really careful. But this might be a cool model to try and paint.
Oh my god.
Oh, there you go. Oh my god. So yeah, all of this was the stuff that I found at the Value Village today. I have to say, one of the best finds as far as Warhammer and miniatures go in all the time that I've been going to flea markets and secondhand stores. I've never really walked away with a haul this massive. 2 bags full. There was a 3rd bag that I didn't get. There was more stuff, but I was like, let's just stick to this. Great find, Night Trap. I think so too. But yeah, pretty neat. And for YouTube purposes, anyone watching, if they can identify this stuff and tell me where they come from, what factions, what names, what are their names, or something like that, that would be immensely helpful. But yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching. That's a Steel Bacon.